and then we're rushing around, our brain's going 100 miles per hour, and finally, anxiety just takes over. Oh my God, guys, let's talk about that. Let's talk about the thing that made me anxious the most. Yes, we should be taking breaks, but we need to take intentional breaks. It's okay that I start over because at the end of the day, like I know I'm gonna get myself back up to keep moving forward, to figure out how I'm gonna get to that point regardless. Hey everyone, welcome to the Highest Version Podcast. I'm your host, Philavong, and on this podcast, we talk about falling in love with the process of getting better every day and becoming the highest version of ourselves. Guess what, guys? We are almost done with Q1. Holy shit, we are in March already. What the happened? It feels like yesterday that we just started the new year. I was just writing my goals, and all of a sudden, I don't know what I'm doing with my goals, guys. There's always one fixed thing that I always get right, which is being consistent with the gym. But everything else, gotta go back to the drawing board. We'll get to that in a little bit. But as always, I use these solo podcasts to talk about things I've learned in the past month, the past weeks, just what's been going on. So hopefully I can share something that can resonate with you guys, or you relate, you're on the same boat. You know, we're in this together, trying to figure out what we can do to keep growing and to be 1% better every single day. So without further ado, let's do it. So we are talking about the reflections of February this past month. This past month was filled with a lot. It was filled with a lot of lessons, but also filled with a lot of anxious moments as well. So the first lesson that I learned this past month was you gotta take breaks. Now, we all know taking breaks is super important for our mental health and to prevent us from burning out. It's a no-brainer. We don't have unlimited mental capacity or physical capacity to just work and do all these things 24/7 as much as we would like to. Now, I want to focus on something specifically here. Yes, we should be taking breaks, but we need to take intentional breaks. Focusing on the intention part is because we can use breaks to do whatever, right? We can use it to be on our phone scrolling for 5 to 15 minutes. But I found that when I do that, I'm actually even more fatigued than re-energized, right? Because isn't that what a break is supposed to be? Isn't that the purpose of it, is to re-energize and refuel you? But when I'm literally going from looking at a screen on a laptop to going to another screen on my phone, that's not going to help me at all. I'm just putting myself in the same situation where I was already fatiguing myself. And for a time, like I would always do this and I would just always be burnt out by the middle of the week. So this is something that actually came up through my experience of therapy. My therapist was like, you gotta use your breaks for something that will actually refuel or re-energize you. And I came up with a list to figure out what that is. As of right now, I'm going on my cutting journey. In other words, like I've been in this process of building muscle mass and at this point, like trying to cut down to get to a more aesthetic and leaner look. Right now, I'm puffy. I'm just got a lot of fat around there, and I'm like, I gotta get rid of it. So part of that journey is getting enough steps in for a day. I use my breaks to get on the walking pad for 10 minutes. Let me back it up here, because for a long time, I've been using the Pomodoro technique to figure out how much time I'm going to focus on work and what amount of time that I'm going to rest. Now, this is a technique that you guys can try for yourself, and it has no, limit to it. You can allot the time of 45 minutes of straight work, no distractions, phones off, put on do not disturb, of 45 minutes of focused work, and then have 5, 10, 15 minutes of your break. Now, I don't usually go past 15 minutes because I feel like 15 minutes usually is enough. Started 45 minutes of work, I've done 30 minutes of work and then 15-minute break. I've done 25 minutes of work and then 15 minutes of break. If you guys want me to go on a little bit more about this technique, I'll be happy to. But this is something that I think can really shape or allot that time of a break that we should be taking. And I know I don't like to use the word should, but I suggest it's imperative that you guys take a break during your day to make sure that you don't burn yourself out and that you can have energy throughout the week versus just that earlier part of the week. So what you do with that time, again, like I said, let's not use our phones. Let's figure out other things that we can do, like fulfill certain passions. For me, it's this brand. So I'm like, okay, what can I do in that time that could help push content or have create ideas for the brand. And usually I take some time to schedule out reels that I'm posting for the week so I don't have to think about it every single day, and that I have an automated schedule going on that gives me more of my time later in the week, right? Make it meaningful and make it energize you. Not only have I done the whole walking pad thing, but I've also done stretching and doing mobility because that energizes me. That's getting my blood flowing, and has as actually one of my goals is to put mobility into my routine. Another thing could be, listening to a new song that you heard, or looking for an album that you hear, something that will give you more fuel than drain you at the end of the day. And I'm telling you, using your phone, unless it's for content creation purposes or you're just mindlessly sitting at your desk and scrolling, I'm telling you, that's not the way to go. Plus, if you don't use that time to, scroll on your phone, you got to get yourself moving, get your blood flowing. They say that the more time that you spend sitting or just literally just staying still is declining your health, and we don't want that. We don't want that as part of becoming the highest version of ourselves, because it's not. Now, we have this whole debate about flow state and whether you should be taking a break. Trust me, even when you're in a flow state, give yourself, if you want to keep going, give yourself another 5-10 minutes. Don't give yourself another block of 45 or 30 minutes, because that literally defeats the purpose of taking a break. You're just going to fatigue yourself even more and more and more. And I've been in this situation before. Like when things are really busy at work, I'm like, the break. Like I'm just going to keep going and push through. But by the end of the day, I am exhausted, and I want to work on stuff for highest version, but I can't because I'm getting tired of falling asleep at the laptop. And that's not the type of schedule that I want. That's not how I want to carry about my day. Again, taking intentional breaks can do a lot for you. It can refuel and re-energize you so that you don't burn yourself out so early in the week or early in the day. You can get those little things that are on your to-do list or running list done and out the way. If it takes, 5 minutes, 3 minutes, you can knock that off your list literally in the first morning of your day. There are so many benefits to taking intentional breaks, and I know it has literally changed my energy and changed how I work, because I'm not as fatigued and burnt out as much as I would be if I would just sat there doom scrolling on my phone. So make sure you guys take those breaks, and please comment down below if you guys have any ideas or suggestions that has really helped you when you're taking that break during the day. The second lesson of this past month was it's okay to start over. I know we all have New Year's resolutions and we've had all these goals already, and maybe they're not going in the direction that we want to. And that's completely okay, because it's literally only been 2 months. We are going into the third month. We're going to finish Q1 strong, and nobody says that we can't start over. To be honest with you guys, I'm not in the progress that I would like. The fixed one that I'm always proud of and I'm always working on is obviously my fitness journey. I am super fixated on that and focusing on how I can get that done. Another good thing, and I'm saying this out loud because I want to be compassionate about myself. It's not like I'm not doing anything to accomplish any of my goals, but it still feels like, I'm so just overwhelmed with the amount that I want to accomplish, but I'm already freaking out when there's still 10 more months to go. Part of my cognitive distortion on all or nothing or catastrophizing, we'll get into that later. Anyways, in the beginning of this year, I created the 2026 bingo card with another content creator. Her name's Emily. She actually is the content creator behind @MDaylist. Go check her out. She is showing her journey to learning her native language to connect better with her parents. So make sure you guys go give her a follow. Every day I look at my bingo card and I'm like, okay, am I progressing towards it? Am I not? And this bingo card is for the overall year. And I think that's the thing that makes it overwhelming, is that it's for the whole year and I haven't really broken down those, the steps to do it. Frankly, the squares are pretty vague, and I should probably change that. But anyways, it's time to go back to the drawing board. And in order for me to do that, I need to go back with a more more actionable steps. So I don't know if I'm going to create bingo cards for, on a monthly basis or a quarterly basis. But at the end of the day, the lesson I learned is to give myself compassion, because I know I haven't, done certain things that, speak to my parents in Lao every single time I call them, or have that frequency that I want to. It's okay that I start over, because at the end of the day, like, I know I'm going to get myself back up to keep moving forward, to figure out how I'm going to get to that point regardless. Let's all breathe and not get overwhelmed that we're not going in the direction that we want to. That's okay. That means another path has been paved, and we're going to figure it out. Now, the last lesson of this past month was understanding your parents' tendencies. As we grow older, or at least as I've grown older, I observed my parents a lot more as less of people of authority and people that are, in the same level as me. At the end of the day, just all human beings trying to figure out life and how to survive and how to, keep going with life. I think this is true for other people as well, that, we tend to find that we are more similar to our parents than we think, or we do the complete opposite of them because of something we observed at a younger age. For me, I've realized that me and my dad have the same mental health tendencies. We have the same cognitive distortion of catastrophizing, where we think the worst case scenario, we think the glass is half empty, and when problems come up, we scramble and frantically try to figure out how to fix that problem right there and then. We want the problem to be fixed right away versus like, hey, what other priorities are in life? And then we're rushing around, our brain's going 100 miles per hour, and finally, anxiety just takes over. And I'm so surprised by this, because lately I've been having a lot more anxiety than usual. And maybe I'm not just doing those tools that I have from therapy, which is why I'm so surprised. My parents have gone through, war and always had to live survival, probably not came to the States in probably not the best circumstances. I've had situations or events or mistreatments of them where their anxiety had to be high. Specifically, my dad, I can see that his anxiety is always so high. I don't know if mental health, symptoms or tendencies tend to get passed down. It just seems like this is where I kind of learn it from, and observing as a young person as well about how my dad thought about bills and money, and just always in a state of survival and worry about what's going to happen next. What's the worst thing that can happen? How I can prepare for it. This past month, me and my fiance went to the island of Madeira, which is owned by Portugal. Geographically, I think it's closer to Africa, which I thought was interesting. But anyways, this was a very new environment for me. I already had anxiety doing international travel because it's something I'm not used to. I think Switzerland was probably the first time I've been out of the country, and that was like a couple years ago. It's a different environment there, obviously, because it's new. It's not everyone speaks fluent English. The cars are different. Oh my God, guys, let's talk about that. Let's talk about the thing that made me anxious the most, and that was driving. Now you're like, Randy, why would driving be so anxious out there? Or would driving make you so anxious? Well, first of all, driving makes a lot of people anxious. But in Madeira, the cars are different. There is no park. You have to pull the e-brake and put the car in neutral. Not only that, I think the cars are also automatic and manual. Basically, their hills are like 70%, 80% incline. And it may be being dramatic, but it didn't feel that dramatic. Literally imagine you're in your car and you're going up a hill that feels like you're on a roller coaster, and the roller coaster is on wheels. I was not used to that. I live in a pretty, Boston's like not hilly like that. It's pretty flat for the most part. Keep in mind that I don't really sleep on flights. Again, anxiety, about stuff like that. And I get it. There are things that I can do, take melatonin, but I just couldn't sleep. I really just couldn't sleep. And when we got there, we went to go pick up our rental car, and the guy was explaining, here's how to use the car. And I was like, why do I need to learn how to use a car? Like, I know how to drive. That's when the whole parking thing comes in. And he said, hey, like, there's automatic, but you can also shift the gear to the right to put it in manual. I did not realize that there was a purpose for that. As we were driving to our Airbnb was literally on an 80% like incline hill. Like when you would walk up the hill, your calves already got that big stretch or already were so tired. For the first time that I turned into it, I literally put my foot to the gas and the car just stalled. And I started rolling down the hill. I'm like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Luckily, I was able to brake and pull the e-brake up. in time that we weren't rolling back down onto the main street where so many cars were. And of course, I had to look like a tourist, or I had to stop traffic on both sides so that I can reverse out and go to the gas station that was literally right down the street. I was in such shock. I was barely breathing. I was so overwhelmed with what was happening. And luckily, my fiance is like, a master, or, she's seen me in these situations before, that she's able to calm me down. Man, like, I felt so defeated. I was like, how are we going to go do this trip? Keep in mind that all the hikes that we were doing in this trip were on high level ground. So no matter what, I had to go up these inclines. I did get over the learning curve and I started to, understand it. But man, like, driving out there is a different beast. And every time we were going up along a big hill, like, I had so much anxiety. And that's not what a vacation is supposed to be for. You're not supposed to have that kind of anxiety during a vacation, but it just reminded me about how much, me and my dad think the same about, if he was in that situation, I don't think he would have drove, but it's like the same amount of anxiety response to what are we going to do? We're in a foreign country. Like, it's not like, do I need to, go switch out the car? Do I need to buy a new car? Then that's money. Just so many things are going in my head. And then honestly, it was just a wake up call to remind me about the tools that I need to revisit for my anxiety, whether that's, meditation or writing things out, having things ready so that I don't go in a spiral again. I knew this before. I knew the tendencies that my dad had and how he thinks, because it's the way I think. But I want to give this lesson to you guys that, hey, like, if you haven't observed your parents or had those conversations with your parents about how they deal with certain situations, do it, because you'll understand how they think and think about how you would react to the same situation. And you could be like, oh shit, I'm doing the same thing. Therefore, you can get a step ahead to figure out what you can do to help yourself in those type of situations, whether that's, mental health tendencies or, responses to different situations. It comes a lot from our parents because of what we observed growing up. Maybe it's not your parents, maybe it's friends or other family members that you observed growing up. But understanding those tendencies are going to be important, because at the end of the day, if you're aware of what your tendencies are and your responses, you can do things to change that. A lot of significant lessons that have happened this past month, and we're only in the second month. We only finished the second month of the year, going into the third. But I truly believe that, this is just, these are great lessons to carry on into the rest of the year. Some hiccups on the road, but at the end of the day, we're going to keep moving forward and figuring out how we're going to get to the place that we want, how to build a life that we want, how we can get 1% better every single day. Now I want to get into questions from the audience. This is a beautiful question that I think a lot of us can learn from. It is, how do we break bad habits? This is something that I learned from Atomic Habits, the famous book by James Clear. And it all comes down to understanding your systems and environment. If you are curating an environment that allows that trigger to do that bad habit easily, you need to figure out the restrictions and the barriers to exhaust that trigger so that it doesn't happen. Say you have a bad habit of snacking. If you have a bad habit of snacking, you got to go the approach of out of sight, out of mind, keeping less snacks in your house or replacing it with healthy ones. So that way, what you put into your body is actually beneficial if you are having that snacking tendency. If you are spending a lot of time on your phone, there are so many apps, so many options within your phone to restrict that amount of time. Or you can take a detox of social media and just completely delete the app for a certain amount of time. And then there's also finances, right? If you're spending a lot of money on, going out to eat or gifts or clothes or whatever it is, if you set up an automatic payment to put a certain amount of money into savings so that you don't touch that money, that will prevent you from doing that bad habit of, shopping too much or spending your money too much, because you created a system that doesn't allow you to do that. So at the end of the day, in order to break your bad habits, you need to create a system or environment that will minimize that trigger as much as possible. And that's the tough part about it, right? Is putting those barriers to prevent yourself from conducting that bad habit. But you need to put up those barriers and exhaust the trigger and make sure that trigger doesn't happen as often so that you don't do that bad habit that you're trying to prevent yourself from doing. So if you guys want that in on an episode in itself, please provide me with some examples and we can brainstorm together on, hey, how can we get rid of this bad habit? Lastly, I want to bring out the bucket of wins. As you guys know from the last episode, or if you haven't, I've been writing down reflections of wins every single day. Because of my trip, I didn't really get to do that, but let's see what we got. All right, the first one we got here is made time to talk to my village. The term my village is in quotations here because what that means really is, hey, I want to build the community and the group that really pushes me to grow. My village, the people that support me, the people that are also on the same ambition to become better every single day. They have their own goals. It really is figuring out those that you want to spend a lot of your time around. And that's what I mean by making time to talk to my village. As you guys know, I just have a tendency, to always do work or do things related to highest version. And sometimes I lose sight of, that social relationship or that family relationship. And that's why making time to talk to my village is super important. And it's just making sure to build off of those relationships. So that's a good one. This one is making efficient choice to go from reels to post. There are so many directions you can do with content creation, right? Reels take up a lot of time. Now, I know there's so many AI sources out there, and I do believe that they are really good tools. I just think that for me as a creative and a creator, that having that full creativity and full direction or full control of creating those reels rather than having it AI generated can benefit because how you curate the kind of voice that you have, I would say, for your page. And sometimes that can't be reflected in an AI software. There are so many ways to put your content out there, whether that's a post, that's on a story. And for the longest time, I've always just done reels. So to be able to implement posts in there too really brings a variety to my brand and hopefully will attract more people. So that's dope. This one is doing laundry during busy clothes. This is what I'm talking about, guys. And taking intentional breaks to do these house chores or other things that you can save time on. 10 to 15 minutes out of your day, out of your workday is not the end of the world. Like your bosses, your managers also need 5, 10, 15 minutes to take a break. And if they don't, well, that's on them because you have the choice to take that break to do things that will benefit you. And this is an example of literally during busy close, during the busy month end close of, that time period, I was still able to find time to do little things that I wanted to check off my list. So this is cool. Another win in the bucket is finished another travel vlog post. Guys, I have so many videos from my past travels and I have not been able to put out reels, and to have for me to finish one is a huge win for me because I'm always obviously recording, creating content, having content ideas. I really want to get out these videos from Hawaii and doing that half dome hike to you guys. I promise it will be out at some time, but this is a win for me because just of the amount of time that I have and allocating that time. And that's what I'm also trying to figure out, time management and how I can make sure that these travel vlogs get to you guys. This one is calmed my anxious mind successfully. Didn't do that in Maduro. But it's kind of, again, going by all or nothing mentality, me thinking that my anxiety has just been at such a high that I don't know how to control it. This is just a reminder that there was a time that I was able to, whether that was through breath work or through a song or through some kind of way. I can't remember what that moment was, but I'm glad that I still have that capability to calm my anxiety and do it successfully. This next one is completed a non-negotiable. Guys, we have so many things that we have to do in a day, and I like to think about what my non-negotiables are. Filming this solo podcast during the week, that is a non-negotiable because I know that I've filmed episodes with guests, and I want to make sure this goes out at a certain amount of time. So in order for my guest episodes to go out at a good timing, I have to make sure this filming gets done. So non-negotiables, man. If you have trouble with your time and time management, writing down your non-negotiables is going to be huge. And also will be more you'll be compassionate and easier on yourself, because instead of trying to do 10 million things in a day, you'll have that one non-negotiable. And if you complete that, it will kind of bring you, at least for me, it brings joy and hey, like this is a non-negotiable that I got done. And this is something that was really important for me to get done, and I did it. This one says, gotta post out when I needed to. Again, being on this content creator journey, trying to be more timely and cognitive on getting posts out on time, so that people can trust that I will get things in a routine way and that they can expect things from me at a certain amount of time. This one is, this one's long. Wow. Came up with a new way to show the podcast reels. I've been experimenting. Obviously, as a creative, making sure I experiment with how I want to do it. Hooks are a huge thing, and really trying to get people to be part of this community and listen to amazing stories, pieces of wisdom that other people are sharing. So coming up with a new way to show podcast reels is huge, and it just expands my laboratory or inventory of how to do things and how I want my voice to be projected out there for my brand. So yeah, those are the wins of February. And I mean, it's amazing that I had this much. Is a lot more in January, which I'm really happy about and hope to continue in March. So yeah, guys, I hope part of this episode resonated with you, whether that's a lesson about, taking intentional breaks. Would love to hear what you do during your breaks that help re-energize you, refuel you, so that way you don't burn yourself out or have a lot of mental fatigue by earlier in the week. Or whether it's giving yourself compassion that, hey, if you're not progressing on your New Year's goals, or you have a hiccup, don't worry, start over, start from scratch, get yourself back on the horse and keep on riding. And lastly, understanding and observing your tendencies of your parents, because it can tell you a lot about yourself and what you need to, not what you need to, but what you would like to change, just in the case if you see similar tendencies that you don't like, or it just tells you a lot about yourself, because some of those things are passed down or that we learned unconsciously and we didn't. So yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Please continue to, DM me some questions or any topics that you would like me to discuss, or like me and my guests to discuss. It really helps out. And I just want to know what I can do to help you guys. And I really want to do that. So as always, let's fall in love with the process of getting better every day and becoming the highest version of ourselves. I love y'all so much. Thank you.